Hello, my wonderful humans, and welcome to phase three. Phase three inside of the Functional Nutrition Project is going to be all about unlearning. So, unlearning things like listening to your body, unlearning things like diet culture versus anti-diet culture, the balanced diet, like all of these things that are just like productive and unproductive at the same time. And I'm just going to share my opinions on them and how to have a nuanced sort of reality and to move forward. Because I feel like in order for you guys to think better than the average practitioner, it's for you guys to know how to access a lot of nuance. It's for you guys to know how to access critical thinking. It's for you to know how to access pattern recognition in yourself. And for you to actually unlearn a lot of what is being fed down your throat and also keeping you really stuck. And I think the biggest one to talk about is the balanced diet lie. Now, this is something that is again a little bit more controversial. And if you're in a position where you're really struggling with food, I would probably argue this isn't the best module for you, but I'm going to talk about it anyways because it's super informative. Now, I would say if most people looked at my diet, they would say it's very restrictive, that you need to have more of a balanced diet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But to me, because I access things like discernment, nuance, I am very in tune with my body. I'm very educated on my body. I don't believe in the balanced diet. And I think that the balanced diet has been used and abused. And I think that for a lot of people, it's actually become a really big cop out, right? It's become a marketing slogan for inconsistency. It's a shield people want to use and hide behind when they want to stay really comfortable, right? It's like I eat balanced is a really uh marketable way to say I do what I feel like, I eat what I want, and I call it something like self-love, and it's a really moral thing to do. And I think true balance, the kind that builds a energetic, regulated, high functioning body, doesn't look like eating 50% whole foods and 50% shit. Um, or whatever. It looks like having standards for yourself and discipline and saying no, and sometimes saying to yourself, absolutely not, you're not eating that. And you're not making that decision or whatever it is. All right. It's knowing the difference between being a regulated human and being really reckless. And I don't think people need to learn balance. I think they really need to relearn structure. And I think where balance has become a problem, it is a problem because it's turned into a permission slip for people to avoid responsibility. So it's common that you hear women say things like, I listen to my body, but their body's really dysregulated and their body doesn't have a strong base. And it's like, if you're preaching, I'm listening to my body, yet your sleep is whack, you don't eat a whole foods diet, you don't get enough sunlight, and you're dehydrated. I'm sorry, but your body's not communicating to you. That's dysfunction communicating to you. Saying things like, I don't restrict myself, but overeat every single weekend. I don't want to be obsessive, yet they're obsessed with comfort. I just want to enjoy my food, but they use food as fucking sedation, not nourishment. They feel lonely, they eat. Like it's always the women that are actually struggling that say shit like this. And I put up a story yesterday where I was saying the worst people to coach, and I genuinely mean this, and I'll say this with my fucking chest, and I mean this, is conscious women. The worst to coach, the worst in business, with fitness, with weight loss, because the conscious woman who wants to lose weight is like so in tune with her body now that she doesn't need to track anymore. She overeats and she calls it a refeed. Like there's a reason and there's an intellectual excuse for fucking everything. And this is what the word balance has become. Balance isn't skipping your morning routine and calling it self-care. Balance isn't eating whatever the fuck you want and pretending it's intuition. Balance isn't the absence of discipline. It's the evolution of it, right? And people always say this to me, right? Because they find out I don't eat out, right? I haven't ate out in months. I rarely eat out, and if I do eat out, it's high quality firewood pizza, high quality like Asian food, and that's pretty much it. Like some really good Italian, high quality Italian, or high quality Asian food. Other than that, unless it's like fine dining, like something that's like up there. And people ask me why. First reason, I worked in the food industry. I know how food is prepped. Also, made the decision not to eat out anymore because I don't like the way that eating out makes me feel in comparison to eating at home. True balance is not what you find. It is something that you create yourself through evidence and self-trust over time. Balance is equally the ability to hold two truths at once, right? Here we go. I just said I don't eat out. Yet I eat out on the rare occasion if it's worth my while. Balance is saying, no, I'm not going to eat that piece of cake. And yes, I'm going to eat that piece of cake. I can eat a piece of cake without spiraling. And I can also eat a piece of cake, not eat a piece of cake without spiraling. Does that make sense? Went to my brother's house the other day. They said, we're having pizza. I used to work at Domino's. There's not a fucking chance. So what did I do? I took my own meal prep, a prawn, curry, fucking thing, whatever, and I ate it there. And my brother made the comment, why are you eating pizza? We got pizza. I'm like, don't want to eat it. That's okay. That to me is balance. That to me is discipline. That to me is the definition of balance. Saying no, guilt-free, and choosing something that's better for me. Because I know how that food is going to make me feel, and I'd rather not do that. Because guess what's going to happen, right? And again, this is what I said in the call, the hidden payoff. When you become self-aware, you see this. You foresee the situation playing out. I foresee I'm going to have pizza because I feel embarrassed, because I feel scared, and whatever the fucking reasoning is. So I'm going to have pizza. Then I'm going to feel like shit, right? Then I'm going to complain to Jesse. I'm going to want validation. He's not going to give it to me because he's going to say, why'd you eat the pizza in the first place? And then I'm going to get pissed off. And then it's just like, it's just going to be this thing that didn't actually need to be there in the first place. So the balance is saying no, right? But will I have cake? Maybe. I don't know, dependent on what I actually feel like for that day. Some days I say yes and some days I say no. But if your version of balance is leaving you bloated and fatigued and inflamed and anxious and depressed and disconnected, that's not balance. That's avoidance. And you can call it balance, but let's call a spade for a fucking spade. Let's tell ourselves the truth. Let's get honest with ourselves. And I think underneath this, the science that people love to ignore, your nervous system does not understand balance. It understands consistency. 90% of your 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut. If your gut does not consume, digest things properly, it's not balance. It's just fucking with your shit. You can't regulate your nervous system if your diet is erratic. You can't build hormonal health if your energy supply is inconsistent. You're not eating enough. You're not eating properly. Most nutrition coaches will teach balance as flexibility, but functional nutrition coaches teach you about feedback, because flexibility will say eat intuitively, don't overthink it. And a functional nutritionist and medicine practitioner will say, pay attention to what you eat. Because if your mood, your energy, and your digestion and your period is off, something's not working. And we have an industry obsessed with not being extreme. And I get it. Like I said, I can hold a lot of nuance. I get it. Because someone who's struggling with food, they don't need to have this conversation. This is triggering for them. This is for them. This is annoying. This is frustrating. It's rules. It's things to think about. And they position themselves as the victim. So then the nutrition coach comes in, don't overcomplicate it, just did it. And I get it. I get it. right? I'm not saying that is bad, but what I am saying is like, if you've mastered the basics with food and you're wanting to approach it from a lens of like functional nutrition and medicine, so you want your diet to heal you and be of a level of optimization, have a high libido, optimize things, right? You want to go from basic, so the general population, to elite. It is, you have to stop thinking like a basic bitch, right? It's like when it comes to a conversation around money, right? Something a mentor once told me is, Dia, the worst people that you can listen to and take financial advice of is from your parents. So true, right? Because, or she also said this to me, if your decisions mirror what everyone in society is doing, it's a good indicator that you're making the wrong decisions with your finances. Same thing with food. If everyone's bloated, unhappy, stuck, and I'm just like want to fit in when it comes to my food choices, I'm going to be the same. But I get that this is normal and I get that this is like that safe place, because to go to that next level, you have to address your relationship to food. You have to address the part of you that when things get hard and you need to access discipline, you freak the fuck out and all you want to do is rebel and binge, and like it forces you to confront the deeper problems, right? Because if me saying to you, all right, 80% of your diet needs to be on lock, 20% I'll give you leeway, and that makes you scared, anxious, feel restricted, explore why. Why is that? Why does that trigger you so much? And again, this conversation is not for everyone. I'm talking to people who want to be of an optimal level. If you want to be base, you just want to function, that's fine. That's so fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not shaming you at all. So the real definition of balance is about understanding rhythm. And it's not the absence of rules. I have rules because I know I'm really sneaky and I know I'm a manipulative bitch. And I know that I can convince myself of fucking anything. I'm smart. I'm just like you guys. I'm smart. I can word it perfectly. Perfectly. Balance is knowing when to rest and when you're being lazy. It's knowing when to indulge and when you're just avoiding emotions. It's knowing when to eat more because you're hungry and when you're just soothing stress. It's knowing the difference between being super connected to your body and knowing it enough to know what it wants, not what your dopamine receptors want. Balance is physiological. It's not philosophical. It's understanding blood sugar stability, circadian rhythm, nervous system regulation, micronutrient sufficiency. You can't mindset your way into balance if your biology is off. True story. I left the PT world, right? Personal training, online coach, weight loss specialist, body specialist, because I realized people were losing weight and they were miserable. So I was like, all right, I'm going to learn, educate. So I learned things about shadow work and human psychology, and I got certified in different modalities, and I dove headfirst into mindset work, right? And then I realized people were doing all this mindset work and they can't even go to the gym. They can't not snooze their alarm. They binge eating all the time. I'm like, the fuck? I don't want anything to do with you guys. I'd rather be a PT. So it's like, it's this in between. And I think where people are going really wrong is we're conditioned to believe that balance means don't try too hard, because heaven forbid a woman becomes disciplined, because that means she's obsessed. Something to think about. I always say this, if your version of balance is leaving you heavier, moodier, erratic, bloated, that's not balance. It's not. Self-betrayal. You're just wanting to convince yourself it's balance. And also, in different seasons of your life, balance looks different. So in the first part of your journey of food, balance is this. And then it becomes this. And then it becomes this, and then it becomes this. So understanding that different evolutions of your journey require different levels of balance, require different rules, require different standards. And I always say this, everyone needs to understand that things are seasonal. Nothing is forever. And that in this season of your life, this is what this level of balance looks like. And in the next, it's going to look different, right? So me right now, I'm sure my level of balance is going to look different when I become a first-time mum. And then once I got a year underneath my belt, I'm going to have a different level of balance. And then it's going to change. But I have to be self-aware and honest enough to know what's true and what's untrue, what's laziness and what's actually true, what's balance for me in this season. And if I can't say it with my fucking chest and back myself in that, I can't tell you what balance is. I can't. No one can. No coach can. And no one should. You have to have an access, self-responsibility to legitimately be able to distinguish of what balance is for you and what it's not for this person. Because what balance is for me when it comes to food is someone's fucking hell. But for me, I'm like, this is perfect. I love this. But to other people, it's like, no, I'm not doing that. But I couldn't think of anything worse than your diet. And you couldn't think of anything worse as for my diet. And that's perfect. I eat based off optimization. My job requires a lot of me. I always say to myself, dear, you don't have room for error. You don't. You need to be thinking clearly all the time. To film these modules, I need to be on. I need to be switched on. I can't be addicted to caffeine. I need to be well nourished. I need to be stimulated. I need to have clear thoughts. I need to be confident. I need to have self-respect, right? So you don't get away with stuff like that. You don't. You have to prioritize sunlight. You have to prioritize nutrition. You have to prioritize hydration, your sleep, your stress management things. You don't have the option not to, and that's what balance is for me. Because if I came on here dysregulated, slurring through my words, it took me forever to film this shit. That's not balanced to me. That is self-destruction. That is that to me feels miserable. I couldn't think of anything worse. But because this is what this season requires of me. This is what this level of balance and this level in this season requires of me. And that's perfect. So I think it's really important to audit your version of balance. Is your version of balance currently leaving you stuck or stable? Energized or exhausted? Clear or chaotic? Does your level of balance need to upgrade, change, evolve, mature? The second thing I think we need to do is earn our intuition. Intuitive eating only works when your intuition isn't fucked by things like sugar, dopamine, or trauma. And I mean that. And I'll say that with my chest. Stop calling these things avoidance empowerment. There's nothing empowering about having a dysfunctional relationship with yourself. There's nothing empowering about going to bed bloated and farting and gassy. To me, again, it's like if foods are making me farting and bloated, to me, that is not balance. Incorporating this, but to someone else, that might be. And we all have different versions of that, but I'd rather not fart. And I'd rather not feel gassy. I'd rather not feel pain in my belly. So do you know what I need to do? I need to eat in silence. I need to go outside and eat. I need to prioritize water. I need to chew my food. I need to eat calorie dense foods, and I can't have volumized foods. These are things and rules I have for myself because I understand and I've done this enough, right? For years. I've done this for years to know what my body, how my body operates optimally. I think a lot of people need smarter discipline. Not more, smarter. Built on self-awareness, not control, self-awareness and self-responsibility. And I think if we stopped chasing balance and started chasing biological safety and emotional regulation and self-trust and self-respect, a lot of things would change for us. Because when those things are solid, balance becomes your default. I'll see you guys in the next training.